Okay, so apparently I'm not really good at leaving well enough alone, so I gathered some more The Last of Us props. A lot of them most of them, from the new HBO Max series, and I want to talk a little bit about the props, which I think are freaking outstanding as far as the continuity and accuracy to the game. So as far as prop cameos are concerned, a lot of the ones from the games actually ended up making it into the show also, like the Streamlight Survivor. Henry carries a Streamlight Survivor in the Kansas City scenes. I think he actually uses the amber smoke cutter because his light is actually a little bit more yellowish compared to everybody else's. And I don't know if they did that on purpose to sort of distinguish between the beams, because if you look, Sam's actually is a little bit green versus Joel and Ellie's are pretty much straight white, but this is a little bit yellowish, which leads me to believe that he's using the amber smoke cutter, which is just a filter that goes on the end of it. His also has a red tag right in the middle here, but really it's centimeter for centimeter, the prop from The Last of Us Part 2, and I think that's awesome. Also making an appearance is the Colt Defender. Tess carries a Colt Defender, black with a brown grip, and I think Riley carries the same one, but you can't really get a good gauge of the color just because of the shadows and stuff, and it's dark at night. But I think both of them carry the Colt Defender, which I also think Tess got from Frank in exchange for strawberry seeds, because he just traded a little one, and this is fairly little. Really, again, it just goes to show the attention to detail when it comes to stuff like weapons and who carries what. Also the Taurus Model 66, Ellie's Beretta Model 70, Tommy's Remington 700, which is very similar to Ellie's rifle that I had made from The Last of Us Part 2. And the Switchblade, obviously. The Switchblade had to make an appearance. They got the details and stuff pretty much spot on. And when I say spot on, I actually went through the details, because there's a good shot of it in the last episode when Anna has it, on which particular version that I made is the closest. I was thinking it was going to be one of the 11 inches, seeing as how it's pretty clear that it's an 11 inch in the show. But when you look at it closely, I'm starting to think that it might have been a custom job, just because of the fact that it doesn't actually meet the layout of the 11 inches. It actually matches up to the 9-inch one in topology a lot better than the 11-inch ones, which I thought was rather amazing. When you look at it, the locking mechanism compared to the pinout and stuff, the pinout is actually closest to, and the button layout for that matter, is closest to the 9-inch one. Like the pin actually intersects the locking mechanism versus standard 11 inches or even, the cheapo 11-inch and stuff. It doesn't line up, and even less so on the Frank Beltrame one. So really, I think they were using this as a guide, and by that I mean the Naughty Dog cosplay guide version, but making it longer, like 11 inches, so that it actually looks appropriate. But really, that was the one thing that I noticed, which is kind of strange, interesting, and fun about the Ellie Switchblade from the TV show. So yeah. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so the props that I have gathered from the TV show are Joel's knife, which is not Brian's knife. It's separate because it's continuous from the beginning all the way to the end. And I'm pretty sure he just used Brian's knife to kill him and then left it there. I have the scanner, which I showed off in the quick demo. I have Ellie's flashlight. This is called a Nebo Cricket, and this one in particular is the Nebo Big Cricket. It's kind of cool because it swivels to straighten out, and I think this is the one that Sam carries, just straightened out version. Either way, I got one. Had to get it shipped from England because this is apparently a discontinued model, but either way, I got one, and I'm pretty sure this is the exact one that Ellie uses in the show. My last El Diablo met an unfortunate demise. I dropped it from an unspecified altitude, rapid deceleration test. So I found one of these. This is a Cybergun Evil, and it's heavy as shit because it's all metal. This actually matches pretty well the Last of Us Part 1 re-release because of the squared off barrel and etc, etc. So I just put a new scope on this one. Actually, I put the same scope on this one, and I'm going to put it down now because it's really heavy. I got a cheapo M4 that I kitted out to be Perry's M4 from Kansas City. I just thought that his was a little bit more intriguing. It's got a few more customizations than the one that Joel carried in the beginning. And on top of that, I was able to find the accessories, like almost exactly for actually pretty cheap. The flashlight there and the faux Trijicon ACOG. This thing was like maybe $50, but it came with the the wrists and the foregrip and stuff. I also found the gloves, like the exact gloves that Jeffrey Pierce wears in the show. These are mechanics gloves, and without sounding too stupid, they fit like a freaking glove. They're super comfy, they fit me literally perfectly, and on top of that, they're super easy to take off because all you gotta do is just pull on them. You don't have to worry about, straps or anything like that. Just a really good pair of gloves, which is perfectly fine. I have the accessories for a Joel version of the M4, so like a full wrist rail, another flashlight, the LMR rear sight. Doing his would have required a lot more weathering that I really wasn't willing to do just yet. Maybe in the future, but just not yet. Okay, moving in so I can look at these a little bit closer. Okay, starting with Joel's knife. This is a buck 119, and I got it brand new. I have weathered it, but this is what I believe Joel is carrying. And there's a couple of screenshots that show specifically the pommel of the hilt and length where he's holding it. I can zoom in and basically just hold this up to the TV and more or less measure for length. Additionally, there's a couple of shots with the blade in backwards. If you put it in backwards, it doesn't rattle, and that kind of makes sense. But I'm guessing it's probably just a flub on the part of the prop guys or whoever, because the rest of the time it's actually shown to be, in the proper configuration. I ruled out that it's not a 120, specifically because the 120 has a very much longer fuller. Shape-wise, it's a little bit longer, and this doesn't exactly always line up to what you're seeing on the screen, but when you compare it to the 120, it doesn't match, and this actually matches a little bit better. I sanded the hilt to make it a little bit more dull, pommel, guard, but I left the blade intact because, again, you can clearly see when Ellie puts it on his chest that the blade is still pristine. It's just the hilt that's been weathered. If he's going with like the Gurkha philosophy, like you can't resheath it until it's seen blood or something like that. But the whole point is that like the blade is still pristine in the show, and it's the hilt that's all beat up and weathered. Sanded the leather a little bit just to give it a little bit more age and mileage. You can see pretty much all of the details, like the button, again, like I said, this strap, but again, it's very much clearly a buck. Because you can see the shape, you can see the inlays and stuff like that. I concluded that was 119. So this is the scanner. You can see it's a tad bit chunkier than the one you see on the screen, and that was kind of an unfortunate side effect of making things from scratch. It started out to be just that wide, which would have been a little bit more accurate, but I figured I wanted the beveled edges and stuff, and in order to get a nice, clean, full screen with no corn on the cob, you had to have a little bit more distance in there. I was planning on using a big, huge USB battery, but ended up giving a little bit too much static, so I ended up just using a standard double 14500 pack, which ended up being a lot smaller. Like I said, it's a Crystal Focus version 3, which I don't know when they stopped making the version 3, 2008? When did the V4s come out? I want to say it might have been the trail end of 2008. Yeah, it still has purpose. So the Crystal Focus is not necessarily hacked, but I used a couple of power extenders to actually get the effect that I wanted to. This is the power on, this is the aux. Again, the way it works is that you just push the power button. What you're seeing here is the power on and hum combination, and right now the screen is being driven by the LED 1 pad, which is on a power extender. Additionally, there's another power extender that goes to the LED 2 pad, which will dictate when it powers off. And it's just tied back into the activator so that when it hits a certain time point, it'll trigger the activator and basically just turn it off. The green and the red are just some staggered cob that I have laid down on the back here, and it's facing up, and it's got a good, 1.5 inch worth of space so that it can diffuse properly. There's also a sheet of Plastizode on top of that, again, to further diffuse it. In the demo, like, this part was lit up and you could see the light in between the buttons, and I didn't really like that too much. This part right here lighting up wasn't too bad. I thought that was kind of neat, but it didn't really do that, seeing as how these are the buttons in both the show version and the game version. So I covered that up. I covered up the back of the switches so that it doesn't bleed through anymore. The speaker is squoze in here. This is just some scrap piece of aluminum that I've had for years. An old knob. This is the actual battery information sheet for a 12-volt battery in the game, and I'm pretty sure the show also. It's the instructions how to use this, and it's pretty well laid out, and all I gotta do is just type it out and I'll print it out on like, vinyl sticker paper and stuff, and then I'll add that later on. All these screws are just so that you can take it off and open up it to get to the guts and stuff, because it's inevitably going to require maintenance later on. But yeah, this is the scanner. And you can decide whether or not whoever you're testing is infected or not. So here's Ellie's flashlight. Like I said, you can actually, turn the head and stuff like that, which is pretty neat. I think she always keeps it in this configuration throughout the show. It's pretty clear what it is as far as like the details and stuff. The cutouts here and on the emitter and stuff, you can see those pretty clearly. Same thing with the green duct tape, the rubber pattern and stuff. I was at an angle, and the leather string, I think they got that from the game, seeing as how that's how they would attach it to the backpacks and stuff. The clip also works for that purpose, but again, I think they did that for continuity's sake. All I did with this was I put some green duct tape on it, sanded it so that some of the paint would stick, and then just hit it with a quick black wash. Same thing with the leather string here. That beige is what it appeared like when I first got it, and then I just hit it with again with a black wash. I'll probably go back and hit it with a little bit more sanding. The filter is actually yellow. The one in the show is straight white, so I just covered that up with some vinyl. I did hack it a little bit. I unplugged the ring light and pulled the leads off of it, and basically just reattached the red back into the main emitter LED, so that when it cycles, it's supposed to cycle through like the spotlight, floodlight, red light. It just goes spotlight, no light, spotlight again, off. It's actually a pretty good flashlight. It's nice and bright. You can adjust the brightness on it. Can you see the brightness being adjusted there? Yeah, there you go. Additionally, if it still had the red light, you could go directly to the red light if you had turned it off. So yeah, that's Ellie's flashlight, a Nebo Big Cricket. Not much to say about the gloves other than what I've already said. They fit great. There's minimal slippage inside the glove. Honestly, I have rarely had a pair of gloves that fit this well. I have. But rarely. These in the show are actually a lot darker. There's a couple of shots where you can see that it is an OD green, but mostly it looks like they're just black. I kind of want to go through and weather them. The details were fairly prominent, like the tag here and the ribbing and the fingers you can see pretty clearly. Same thing with the inside. There's a couple of shots where you can really see what the inside of the glove looks like. It wasn't too much of a search. I found them on Amazon. I forgot how much they cost. There was a pretty good deal. They still make these. Yeah, just a good glove. The end. Okay, so this is version M4 that Perry carries. That sounded weird to me. Whatever. But yeah, this was a cheapo spring airsoft gun, and it was like maybe $50, but it came with the wrists and the forward grip and stuff, and I was planning on putting a blaster core in it anyway. By the way, that sound is taken from the Catacomb shootout in John Wick 2, which I'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, it's got a blaster core. The recharge port is underneath the dust cover. The aux button is the forward assist. The magazine has a little right there snap action switch to control the magazine in out. Couple of details that I thought really stood out where the flash hider is actually really kind of a light gray, almost as if all of the anodizing had worn off. The flashlight is a really cool flashlight. It was maybe $30, but it's the exact flashlight that he has on his weapon, complete with this is the exact mount. One thing that he did, and you can actually see this, is that he cut the rail cover so that you could accommodate the flashlight on the side here. I was kind of surprised that you could see that, so I did that too. So if I did want to make this into a Joel version, his flashlight is just straight underneath the barrel. You got it the same flashlight but on a different mount. The rail cover on his is actually full, so this would actually go right here. If not, the one in the game actually only has half of the rail covered up anyway, so if you wanted to be a little bit more game/show version accurate, you could do that too. The Trigicon ACOG, this is the one with the iron sights. It's just a cheapo, and it actually kind of sucks because the eyeline is all skewed. It's way left of what you're actually looking at. I pulled off the prism and stuff just to see if I could align it a little bit better, and that didn't work. So pretty crappy, but again, it's accurate. to the show. The paracord here on the end, that's again something that Perry does. He uses it to attach the sling, which I'm pretty sure is just a straight 1-point sling, seeing as how he slings it straight down. His grip is wrapped in duct tape, so mine is wrapped in duct tape. I just wrapped it up, weathered it, hit it with a black wash, and then clear coated it. Magazine, just sanded to fade, but otherwise it's just a standard magazine. I have the LMR rear sight again if I wanted to do a Joel version, maybe later. Honestly, just shape-wise, the Perry one just spoke to me a little bit more. I just thought it showed a little bit more, you know, personality with the customizations and stuff like that, but it didn't mean I didn't like the faded look of the Joel/Lee rifle, but again, I just gravitated towards this one a little bit more, but in the future, if I wanted to, I have that option. So yeah, here's my collection now. It's really starting to dwindle, seeing as how I gave so much away. I had a lot of stuff, and I didn't really need everything. I didn't need, you know, 15 bottles of, you know, alcohol that didn't have anything in it. So I gave it away to a bunch of friends. I gave some to Tamara, some to Twilight, some to Guy. I gave a bunch to Jocelyn Metler, who is the face model for Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. She's got a channel on Twitch.
Thank you so much, Eastern 57. These are really, really, really cool.
Yeah, there's the flamethrower, the backpack with arrows sticking out of it. Cannibalized my Molotov cocktail just so I could, you know, salvage the wick and put it on something else for somebody else. But I think I made like 4 of those that I ended up giving away. So I'll have to get a more flame bulb if I want to put the wick back on that one. But constantly an evolving collection. And I'm pretty sure I'll continue, or maybe I'll just, you know, pick it up when season 2 comes out. So anyway, yeah, that's all I got. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching. I don't have an accurate one anymore now. Maybe I should have thought about what I was going to say before I tried to say it, because it's not coming out too eloquently. The leather string thing, I think they got that from the show, and it's the show. I think they got that from the game for some semblance of, you know, logic, reason, blah, blah, blah. You can tell that this is specifically the one from the show. Did I say game earlier? I meant show. The ribbing and the fingers, I just burped.